Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. I am back as promised. I said I was coming to do a show and I am here in full force. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome on board, welcome on board. Please like and share as you're joining. Uh, Good evening, everyone. How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you? Hello, 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 tue tue. Hello, tue tue. I supposed to go work for radio station. Hello, Tue Tue. How's everyone? Um, how's your evening going? Mm, this particular show is going to be interactive, so it's not good. Don't leave only me to start talking. Without wasting time, um, I've been meaning to do this show. To be fair, I've actually been meaning to do it for a while, but this show is a serious one, so let's do it in a serious way. We go laugh, but we go do them in a serious way. So, are you a parent? Come on board, let's talk. Are you an international student? Come on board, let's talk. Are you a home student? Come on board, let's talk. Are you someone that you are in your career, but you are at some point you are looking to swap careers or to transition from one career to the other? Come, let us talk. So, um, yes, over the as we as Africans, or let me say, we the Dudus, say sometimes we don't, in most occasions, we don't engage in career from the angle of career satisfaction. We tend to go into career based on now now money, this one, money did this particular one. So what you see us doing very easily is we end up being we end up rushing and overcrowding some careers. And the truth is, a lot of us, if you ask us, what you are doing just now, do you enjoy it? What is your motive? Or what's your motivation for doing the job you are doing? A lot of us, our answer now, money day there. Okay? Some people, there's passion. There's definitely passion there. But some people, now this one, I money day. Now this one, they rain. And then at this one, they rain, where will they do so? We have brought it even to our children, whereby we urge our children to do specific kind of career, because as far as we are concerned, na that one na money dey. Whether that child is interested in that career, e no concern us. You go dey hear, especially, I don't know, sorry, my people in Canada and America. When you dey hear, what are you doing? I dey do nothing. Wait, why are you doing nothing? Na there money dey. Or you will hear people, I'm doing medicine, I'm a doctor, I'm a consultant. Why are you doing it? A lot of people, they are not actually enjoying it. They don't actually enjoy their career. I was listening to someone, the lady was trying to pitch for people to come and do social work. And the next thing I heard was, there is money in this course. Mental health, there's money there. Yes, what you call money, if you actually quantify it with the time you put into that career, the truth is you're actually being shortchanged by your employers. So the easiest way around it is do something that you enjoy. When you do something that you enjoy, you are able to explore it in an in-depth way, whereby you have career satisfaction. And that's where the reality is. If you are going to engage in a career because money day, when you actually look at that career, what you find out is the time. I'll give you a very good example. As a social worker, I can tell you for free, eh, eh, the time you put into your work, in short, emergency, and when you are responding to emergency and duty, the days of placement break down. If you're a social worker, you understand the language I'm using. The days of placement break down. The days of you going to panel, or the days you have to go to court and it's a very rigorous drilling. If you quantify those time that you spend, or the times that you have to go through serious case review, or maybe pie happens, or unexpected, a lot of things do happen. If you look at the stress of that career alone, the money that they pay, even whether an assist, whatever figure the figure is, it does not that money does not quantify the level of hours you put into your work. As a nurse, I can tell you that for free as well, that by the time you go and do your shift, whether you're a community nurse, whether you are administrative nurse, whether you are a service delivery nurse, okay, whether you dey do shift, whatever job you are doing, whatever part of nursing you are doing, if you actually look at the amount of time that you pump, the hours you pump into your job, and the career the hours you pump into your job, what you discovered very easily is that when you look at how much you are being paid, it doesn't matter the figure. It doesn't matter whether it's 5 figure or 7 figure or how many figure. When you quantify it, it does not in any way, it does not even in any way translate the money you are making or the salary you are earning or incentive, whatever it is. It does not even quantify the hours you have put into this career. If you are an accountant, think about it. The hours you spend, everything is beautiful until something goes wrong. And the hours you spend putting into that career, it does not in any way quantify the money that you earn. Is he a doctor? Look at the amount of hours a doctor spend, whether you're a GP, whether you're a consultant. If you calculate the hours you work and the money you make or the salary you earn, incentive, whatever it is no way, in no way does it even justify. Okay? So these are your realities. And so the easiest way around things is to do something that you enjoy. You see, when you enjoy a career, when you're in a career that you enjoy, you are able to explore it. And when I say explore, it's not just a case of, for instance, as a social worker, you're not just frontline. You're not just doing it for the fun of doing it. Okay? If everything you are doing is based on money day, trust me, you will burn out very easily. But if it's something that you enjoy doing, as a social worker, you can be a children and family social worker, you can be a forensic social worker, you can be a mental health social worker, you can even work in specialist roles. Okay? Whether child protection, whether you're working with migrants, there are so many angles to social work. There's also the policy angle to social work. There is the straightforward professional angle to it. There's also the angle of policy contribution. There's also the angle of academics. But if you are not someone who enjoys that career, you are not able to explore. I will give you a practical example of myself. I studied accounting. Okay? Deep down in me, I know accounting is not my thing. It's not because I was bad in math. It's not because I'm bad in math, or it's not because accounting is not something that is good. It's not a good career. I did accounting as a last result. It wasn't my thing. Okay? I am someone that enjoys policy. I love policy. I love to play around with policy. I love to scrutinize why laws are put in place. I love to understand why the laws are put in place, who put the laws in place, what is this law relevant? I enjoy the whole process of lobbying policy and reviewing policies. So yes, as I studied accounting, and the truth is, financial accounting was not my thing. Financial accounting is more of numbers and co. But I love the investigative angle of accounting. But because say that for Nigeria, you shall have to graduate either way, which way. So I graduated doing accounting. But the truth about it was, accounting, even though I did accounting, it was not my cup of tea. Okay, I knew that was just not my thing. I knew that all along. Okay, so I knew that when they talk about politics, I remember back in high school, I did very well in government. Okay, I don't know if they still do it now. I did very well in the subject called government. I did very well in history. Yes, I passed my work. I didn't have to repeat it. My history, I did very well in history. These are things that caught my attention. Okay. But having said that, I had different choices of different career paths I could go with this because I was a social science student. I wasn't necessarily art. I mean, I wasn't just stuck on art or nada. But there was also something that I enjoy doing in my leisure is creative writing. Okay. I'm very reflective. People who have met me one on one will tell you that I'm very, very reflective. And like I said, I love policy. I love anything to do with politics, catch my interest. Anything to do with social justice catches my interest. Okay. Apart from the fact of how I grew up and the person I stayed with and all these things, I always knew that this was, I was just natural in that. So when I started practicing, I decided management accounting was something that interests me. And the only reason why management accounting interests me was just because management accounting allowed me to explore. It allowed me to marry my curiosity with my professional values. Okay. In management accounting, I'm able to scrutinize like business plan. I also have the curiosity and the knowledge of businesses. Like in NGOs, for instance, how did they come to be? Why are they doing this business plan? Those nitty gritty of it. I got that. That interests me. If I was a financial accountant, that would not be. I would not have that level of flexibility because I'm just stuck behind numbers. But with management accounting, it allowed me to play around. It drove my curiosity. It even allowed me move into procurement. I was able to understand the nitty gritty of procurement and stuff. Okay. Hey, how are you? Shine Light Crown. How are you? I was able to like move into a management role. Sorry, yeah, management accounting. So at a point, um, at a point, I did my masters, and I did my masters in financial risk management. Okay, again, yeah, I mean, it was cool doing that masters, but I always knew, like I did very well in the ones that had things to do with policy, but the bit around um, just pure numbers, it's not like I didn't do well in it, but when you compare my results, I mean, eventually I graduated with a distinction, but that's not the point. The point is not whether I had a distinction or I had a merit. That's the least of the worries. The cocoa of the matter was, if you look at my subject, if you look at my result overall, I did better in courses that allowed me explore than courses that were rigid, like the courses around numbers. I mean, numbers is numbers, it's just rigid. Okay. But the ones that allowed me explore, the ones that allowed me reflect, I did better in them. So what did I do? Yes, I work for various accounting companies, organizations. Okay. I worked in the bank. To be honest with you, I didn't stay that long in the bank because it was just too, like, it just was not my thing. Okay, and I'm not that anybody that knows me, me, I'm not. I don't like those formal dressing. Those you wear suit and those things irritates the life out of me. I like my freedom. I like to dress down. Okay, I mean, there's nothing wrong if you are a suit person or you are. I like the casual formal, which is what we tend to do. I like the casual formal life. You know, and I think again one of the things that drove my that makes me that made me hate that, or that does not make me like it, so to say, is because of course while we're in school, you had to wear a particular uniform. There was, so I just didn't like that uniformity. That confirm being conformed to certain type of dressing. Okay, I love the dress down, and that was something I loved. Like in the banking career, compared to Nigeria and here, you do a lot of dress down. Like, you don't. It's not like you would wear. I mean, you won't wear just any kind of dress, but at least you're allowed to dress down. Unlike Nigeria, where you have to wear suits. Like when if you can tell a banker, you can just tell who is a banker. It's very easy. So when I came here, The dress down was fun, but because I didn't like that regime around the banking, I then, when I finished my master's, I got a graduate scheme. Now I'm going to give you the reality, okay? When I was doing my master's, I was working like every other international student. I did. Then I remember I used to work. There's if you live in Edinburgh, Lothian bus. I used to clean Lothian bus at night. I used to clean the Lothian bus because as a student, you are not that flexible. With your hours, you're not that flexible. So I used to clean Lothian bus. I worked in McDonald's, and then in the evening, like twilight, I cleaned Lothian bus. I think 2 nights a week. When I say night, not night, from 10 p.m. You did it. I did it from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. I cleaned the bus, and the bus, whatever, wasn't too far from my house. Anyway, so while I was doing that, uh, my other students, like my colleagues at school, I was just the typical Nigerian student. I was just doing my own thing, and I didn't know better. And that was just the truth. I did not know better. So when I graduated, we had what they call the NHS. I don't know if they still do it now. They used to have what they call the NHS graduate scheme. Okay, I don't know if they still do. I'm talking of almost 2 decades now. Well, over decades now. So I used to, so I applied for the graduate scheme. That time it wasn't that it was rigorous, but not so rigorous. Okay. So I applied for the graduate scheme. Now, what does that graduate scheme does? The graduate scheme at the time, remember I'm talking of 2005, 2006. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, a lot has changed. This is 2025. Okay. So the graduate scheme at the time, the criteria for it at the time is you would have a distinction, or you either have a merit or a distinction if you are coming in on a master scheme, or if you are coming to the masters. I don't know if they still have that now. And then for undergrad, you need to have a two. I think it's a 2-1. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, like I said, I'm talking of almost 2 decades now. So I went in. I mean, when you look at the skills, when we went for I remember going for the test. You used to go and do the test at what's the name, in Glasgow, at SSC Glass SSEC Glasgow, something I can't remember. Very close to BBC. That's where we had to go and do those test exams. So, and I remembered when they did, I didn't do well in the skills test. Okay, the practical skills test, I didn't do well. But in the academic, in the ones around like academic angle, I did really well. Okay, again, it's like my bread and butter. The question they were asking, like my bread and butter, and it was easy to study for that. But the practical angle of it, I didn't do so well. But at that time, um, also there were like very few blacks, so there was like a guaranteed interview for black and ethnic minority, for people from black and ethnic minority. So looking at it, I remember they will have to give you like feedback when you do. So it's like 3 stages. The first stage, you do the skills exams. So when I did the skills exams, I think out of 70 questions, again, I'm talking of far back as 2005, 2006. So I don't know what it looks like now. So I remembered out of 70 questions, in the practical skills one, again, I be Naija now. Naija no dey carry last abi, na so they talk am. I use Opolo to carry it. Okay? But there's a bit that you do like the general question, and then there's a bit that you have to, like you have to demonstrate. You use video, the days of webcam, the days of Yahoo Messenger where you use webcam. There will be questions and the webcam you use So that was what it used to be. Again, like I said, I don't know what it looks like now. So when the ones that we had to read, say Naija Agberugbe son, you go cram, na cramming level. So I crammed, I did well. So out of the 70 tests in the skills angle, I think I was lucky. I think you had to have over 40. I got 43. Okay? Because the bit around the skills, like the practical skills, I didn't do well in it. This is a show that my page is all about honesty. I didn't do well in it. In short, that 43, I managed to have the 43. So so they will give you like a feedback, and that way, when they give that feedback, you either know whether they will tell you whether you are coming back or not. That then they used to like email. It used to be the days of email. They had like a code. They will send the email to you. So anyway, I did that, and guess what? When they gave me a feedback, I remember the examiner or the coach. So they called them a mentor. Sorry, the mentor. I remember the lady saying to me, the lady ended up having to be my manager eventually. So I remember her saying to me, in the angle of theory, the skills where you have the theory questions, she said, you did really well. But when they came to the practical skills, you didn't do well, but there is potential. So there's a way they mark it. They said there was potential for me to do well. So I remember the lady then asked me, what do you do? So I said, oh, that, while I was studying, I had to leave. At that time, I'd left KPMG. So I said I had to leave my job because obviously I couldn't manage KPMG and my master's. It was very, very tedious. So I said, I was working in Lodian Boss. And then she said, what do you do there? So I said, I clean. And she looked at me and she said, you know what? You are going to have to, I'm going to put you through to the next stage. You definitely did pass. So I'll put you through the next stage. But you need to go and volunteer. And she highlighted the areas that I need to, when I'm volunteering, the areas I need to beef up. So then, in the NHS graduate scheme, like I said, I'm talking of 2005, 2006 now, not now. So I don't know what they do now. So she said, she highlighted the areas that I need to go and improve, but I could do that if I volunteer. Okay. So I remembered volunteering for Charles Tampers. I don't know whether they are in England, but in Scotland, Charles Tampers, they are vegetable. They're a vegetable company. They're a small business owner, but they supply vegetables to like different companies and hotels and stuff like that. So I remember very well, they had a volunteer role and they needed a bookkeeper. Okay. But apart from needing a bookkeeper, they also needed someone that will help, that they needed a bookkeeper. But so me, when they said bookkeeper, in my head, I was like, as per graduate, and I was like, oh, this is below me, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so I went for the interview. It used to be at Lone Street at Leith in Edinburgh then. So I went there, went to them, and they interviewed me. And of course, they told me what I had needed to do. They showed me what, like the skills. I told them what I was looking for. And then they showed me, by the time I'd volunteered, I think I volunteered for Charles Tampers for like, I think about 6 months. So within that 6 months of volunteering, I'd had a whole lot of skills. I knew how to run the office. I knew how to manage the office. I knew about the tax system. I understood the procurement system, the credit rate. Like there were different things that I learned, and there was no way I would have learned that at school. Okay, so I had that raw knowledge. So, and of course, you will wonder, did I go back? Did NHS call me back? Yes, in between while I was volunteering, I had my normal job, but in between I was volunteering, I was still waiting. I was doing the exams for NHS because it's 3 stages. So, what I noticed very quickly, the second stage of the NHS graduate scheme test, they were all practical. Okay. Now, because in Charles Tampa, remember I said it's a small business. And again, I see their bosses around, so their vans around. So I'm still thinking they're small business owner, but perhaps they would have expanded compared to what I know them to be as at 2005, 2006. So what then happened was when I started. So I used to do interviews while I was in Charles Tampers. In short, you will actually think I was a paid employee because I did so well and I was given the free, and I worked closely with the accountant, and it wasn't just about just doing account, don't just doing don't not just doing the books, because the small business they had HR. I got to understand the HR. I got to understand the nitty gritty of at that time, I think they were getting ready to integrate into the EU system. Okay, into the EU. The UK was just signing up to the EU free market space at the time, free market trading zone. So I started understanding from a small business. I would go for like events. I would do presentation, even though I was a volunteer. So I began to build skills that I didn't necessarily that's not necessarily taught. I mean, it was taught at school, but the practicality was not there. So luckily for me, I by the time I joined the NHS and my NHS exams, by the time I started doing my volunteer role, the NHS test, the graduate test scheme, the second stage became very easy for me because I could relate it on a practical level. So even when we had to do like the video recording, because you have to do video recording and stuff, to show your understanding of the practical skills, it was easy. It was like bread and butter for me. So eventually I scaled through and I started my graduate scheme role. It was a 2 year graduate scheme role. But eventually I ended up working, of course, I became a permanent staff and I retained my role. Anyway, so the long and short of the story, I got into NHS. When I got into NHS, one thing I realized very quickly in the graduate scheme was um, initially, again, the Nigerian in me, I was content. I was contented with, oh, because a graduate scheme means in the management role. So what they do is every 3 months you move around the NHS. So because of my own background, I didn't realize that the skills I demonstrated, the skills I demonstrated was what was used to assess my placements. So why I found myself very quickly in the NHS was I was I was placed in the um, procurement department, and I tell you what, that was the best. That was one of the best things that ever happened to me because that helped that being placed in the procurement department allowed me to use my skills naturally and also allowed me to transfer my skills. And where I am today, if I wasn't, if I did not start my career from a procurement angle through the NHS, I doubt if I would have been where I am today. Okay. So gradually, I started the procurement, I started the graduate scheme procurement role, and very quickly, like I said, at that time when I started, the UK was aligning its own policy to the EU policy to enable the free market. That was when we had the free market, what's the name, agreement with the EU. So the procurement was being rolled out. The procurement consultation was being rolled out to meet all of those to meet the EU standard. And if you remember, those of us who are in Scotland, I don't know because the NHS in Scotland is quite different from the NHS in England. We're quite distinct. And the 5 a day was my first project. Sorry, yeah, the 5 a day was my first project, and oh my goodness, it was beautiful. So, from the angle of procurement, I work closely with the what's the name with the campaign team. We have the IT and the campaign team, the marketing team of the NHS. So, because I had that um, that volunteer experience from Charles Stampers. While working with Charles Stampers, remember they're a small business, like I mentioned. So what then happened was, they used to supply like schools. They used to supply vegetables to like schools, and that was how I got to understand that your postcode matters in service delivery. Okay, that was how I got to understand. I would never have known that. So I noticed that some areas in Edinburgh, there were kind of fruits that were supplied to them. The way we presented the way those fruits were being presented, the timing of those fruits, the expiry date, there was quite a lot that goes into it. And then there are some areas whereby there's some fruit we could not take to those areas. Okay. Now, I never really understood that. You remember, if I didn't do volunteer, I would not have known that. So, of course, out of curiosity, I would ask questions. Why do we do this? Why do we do this? Why do we do this? You know, those kind of questions. I will ask questions. And then at that time, Lidl was not something that was common at the time. I think Lidl did not come to Edinburgh until much later. It was it was within the 5 a year. It was during the 5 a day that they deal with Lidl. And again, I know that because I was part of the NHS. I was part of the team that, saw that through. Okay. So the 5 a day, we did the 5 a day. We worked closely with the likes of Tesco, the likes of Sainsbury's, and I was able to. I mean, I wasn't the lead. I was a assistant procurement manager. I wasn't the one leading, but because of the knowledge I had from what's the name? Because of the knowledge I had from volunteering with Charles Tampers, when we're looking at how to roll out the 5 a day, because if you remember, NHS was at the forefront of rolling that out. And the 5 a day, there was different reasons why it was designed and why it became important. Okay, so in areas we have Tesco Express, we worked with them. We told them the kind of fruit that should be available. Some, we walked through the nitty gritty of it. Now, I would never have known what to do. I probably would have just walked to them as being a novice. But one thing I noticed was in the graduate scheme, we were three of us that were appointed or that were posted to that role, that were always together. The other two, they understood, the policy around it. I understood the distribution, and then the other person, I can't remember, but our skills was quite unique in the way we delivered services and the way we made decisions. So what I then noticed was, over time, one of the guys, like I said, we're three graduates. So one of them obviously got posted somewhere else. And I didn't realize that. So somewhere along the line, I was left in that role. So I was 3 months there, and then they moved me to another role again. The role they moved me to was the alcohol minimum unit. In short, I'm trying to clear my house, and I still saw the alcohol cup, the cup we did. If you're in NHS Scotland, if you're in Scotland, you know all these things. So the minimum unit measurement, we designed it and, looked at alcohol. I'm a social drinker. Okay. I've not drank for a while now, but I'm a social drinker. So, but we're able to go out, we're able to look at the impact of alcohol. Remember, accounting is my background. We're able to work closely with Alcohol Anonymous. We're able to work with like different organizations. And, I was learning a lot from there. And that began to drive my curiosity. So from me, who studied accounting, who ended up in management accounting, now being posted into procurement, I began to understand the power. I began to understand the impact of social policy on in our day-to-day lives. Okay, I was just looking at Charles Tampers from just distributing fruits, and okay, they distribute different fruit to different people. That was how I looked at it. I didn't look at it beyond that. Okay, but then over time, I now realized, no, there's more to this than what they do. So I became interested. And remember, like I said, they were going to do we were aligning into the what's it called? We were aligning into the EU policies. So luckily, my money, being a graduate there and on a graduate scheme. Sorry, give me 1 minute. I'm not sure who that is. Somebody is. I see my girl there. Sorry, oh. I don't know, no vex, sorry. Yeah, so like I was saying, so my, what was I even saying? Yeah. So, yeah, so the EU, they were trying to like align the policies. And that opened me up, to the nitty-gritty of the policies. And at that time, I remember the former first minister, she was the health secretary. So NHS was going to be 60. There was a lot of things that was going on. And I played, well, I wasn't like a major person there, but my department, the team where I was, we were at the forefront of, putting things together. So that exposed me. And over time, you know what I noticed very quickly? Because I demonstrated, they were not so focused on my academic background. That was one thing I picked up very, very quickly. What I picked up very quickly was the focus was not so much on my academic background. It was more about the skills and how I transferred my skills. So, despite the fact that I knew nothing, I didn't really understand how policies work, apart from just reading it at school. So what then happened was I noticed how my skills was becoming transferable. And of course, like in the graduate scheme, we have what we call the mentorship scene. So it's like a supervision. It's like you're having like a manager that takes you through supervision. So every now and again, we have to check in with our mentors. They are called mentors. I don't know what they are called now, but they are called mentors at the time. So I remember my mentor would say to me, you're doing really well, and you did procurement. Why don't you instead of you just staying in procurement, why don't you explore? I like the skills. They will look at your strength. So it's like your SWOT analysis. They look at your skills, they look at your strengths, they look at your weakness, they look at different things. So they were able to look at it together. And when they looked at it, they said, oh, so she then said, look, why don't you are going to be, instead of you boxing yourself in this angle of career, why don't you look at, she sat with me. So we used to have two mentors. We had I ended up having a male and a female. One of the directors was my mentor. The other one was a manager in a different department. So anyway, they looked at it and I remember one of my mentors saying to me, why don't you do this? So from that, she then said, I think you are better. I think this is a place on these particular skills. You are a natural here. So what we're going to do, so when they know, like what they do is they look at your skills, they explore it with you. Of course, you have to hold their hand to either do it, to either go through that or not. So she looked at my skills and she said, why don't you pursue this? You are young. I think at that time I was in my 20s. I was in my late 20s. And she was like, look, you are young. You've got the world as your oyster. Why don't you pursue this? If you pursue this, these are the career opportunities. These are things that you can do. You don't have to be stuck doing this. So by listening to her, because I was more than happy to learn, by listening to her, I was able to I went on secondment to Canada for 2 years. I was away to Canada. That also exposed me in a different level, and it even made me more reassured of what I wanted to do. So I will remember going, I went, did my stuff. I had a chance to stay back. I had a chance to stay back in Canada, and I was like, but for me, I wasn't keen. Okay, I think I was just like, look, I'm still trying to it was not a place I was keen to stay. That's just the truth. So I came back to the UK. When I came back, I then have to go, at the time when you come back, you do like another SWOT analysis. I did that again. And I looked at, and we looked at skills together. And then she said, okay, go and do this. Go to civil service school. Just in case you don't know, there's civil service school in Scotland and in England as well. So I went to civil service school, I went for a specific thing. And it was in the process of exploring that I thought, oh, so this is what, although that's my area of interest, but so this is what is actually called. So I then pursued a career. And that was how I was able to. So I didn't lose out. I didn't lose out of what I already know. But because of that level of exposure, I was able to move from there. I did some relevant courses and I was able to move into policy. And from policy, I was able to like work. That's how I understand how the white paper works. So when I'm talking about some things, these are things, like I always say, there are some things I talk about and I'll tell you this is my bread and butter because it's something I understand and I have the experience in. Anyway, so I did all of that. But one thing I noticed very quickly, when I was climbing all those ladders, I noticed that I don't find our Dudu there. Okay? And very quickly, when I'm speaking to, I see more of the Asians. I see the Asians, the Caucasian, but not our Dudu. I don't see those ones. So I now say in my head, I'm like, why don't we have our people in this one? And very quickly, it dawned on me. Okay? Because I remember then when I speak to like associates who are blacks, when I speak to them, when I'm saying, oh, this is what I'm doing, this is what I did, they're like, how did you get there? And then when I'm explaining, they're like, you're lucky, it's because you are British. But that's not true. Because there were people on that graduate scheme who were not British. But it's all about how, remember what I said, when I applied for the graduate scheme, I passed when it came to the academic angle. But when it came to practical skills, I didn't have it. I was just lucky that, well, not lucky. I think I was open and willing because I was doing volunteer. Like our people will tell you, volunteer no they pay bills. But you see those volunteer that you refuse to do, honestly, it's a lifesaver. Because that exposed me. And when I then got a graduate scheme, when I got the role I got, it made life so easy. I wasn't just mumbling. I was talking based on fact of what I understand. And I was able to relate it. I had relatable practical skills. So what did I do? From that, I now began to understand. From doing the graduate scheme, I began to understand. In the banks, the likes of NatWest, the likes of HSBC, Citibank, Morgan Stanley, all of them, they have, apart from the graduate scheme, they have apprenticeship schemes. They have interns. When I went to Edinburgh University, these various corporate organizations, they were offering interns. Some of them, you have to come in, you have to actually source it yourself. And what I see with our students back then, our African students, what I saw with them is, yes, we work around the clock, except maybe some of our African students, maybe their parents are, maybe some of them, they are intentional to seek information. Because that's the right word. It's not like they are lucky. There's nothing like luck. It's all about you being intentional. So those who, and I noticed that with the Asian students, they are very proactive during school holiday, during the days in uni, our school holiday, while we are there busy fighting for care job. And I'm not, when I know I keep saying care because that's a popular job people tend to do. I'm not saying it to dehumanize anybody. So when we look at care jobs, when I'm looking at care jobs and I'm looking at Kinong Porukwe, I'm looking at, a lot of our people, they'll be doing care jobs during the school holiday. They are pursuing cleaning, they are pursuing Kinong Porukwe, security. You understand? Now, during those school holidays, why we African students are pursuing that? The Asian students, guess what they are doing? They are volunteering. Those small businesses, you see those African shops, those Asian shops, you will have students. Those Asian students, you see them volunteering as bookkeepers, as facility managers there, helping them to manage the day-to-day of that business. And you then find out that by the time they graduate, okay, while you are still looking for skills, they already have skills. Some of these Asian students, they are helping to manage those taxi business that you see them doing. They are managing it. They have people within their community who are volunteering, and that's their role, and that's how they enhance their CV. Sometimes I look at my CV. Somebody was asking me for my CV recently. She wanted me to show her something, and I sent her a copy of my CV, and I said, look, this is not the reality of what I do. I said, this is just what I can, this is what I have on my laptop. Like I think I've sent on several of my shows that I don't have an up-to-date CV. I don't have it in my possession. And that's just because I've not needed to have one. Because like in the civil service, we have a system like LinkedIn that automatically generates your up-to-date CV. But when I have to sit down and do my CV, to be honest with you, I don't have an up-to-date of my own. So I just give that person just, what I had. And I said, oh, this is not a reflection of my CV or what I do or what I do currently. And she looked at it and she said, you don't work finish. What do you do again? You don't work finish with this now. And I was like, what do you mean I don't work finish? She said, yes, you don't work finish now. Because come to think about it, when you say this is not a reflection, look, baby, your CV, this CV way full like this. You understand? It's not because of anything. I'm just kind of like, so we now looked and I said, what do you mean? And I was trying to help the person. She was trying to put her CV together. And the focus on her CV was so much on academics. It wasn't looking at skills. So when we started talking about skills, she was struggling to translate skills. Okay? It's not about guarding. Yes, it's good to have qualification. I won't lie to you. I have a lot of qualifications. But I didn't have them because I love reading. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy, what do they call it? Ekiti. I'm from Ekiti. I can't help myself. I like to read. But it's not about reading. There's a difference between just acquiring knowledge, and there's a difference between those knowledge, you having skills to back up those knowledge, those academic knowledge. So, in as much as I have so much qualification, I also have so much skills to back up every qualification I have. If you put me in sexual reproductive health now, I can do it with my eyes closed. Like it's a comfortable zone for me. If you put me in policy, I will do it. Put me in child protection, I go do them. Put me for forensic, I go do them. Put me for accounting, I go do them. Business plan, I will do. Like there is nowhere you put me within the skills I have that I cannot operate freely. Okay? And when I talk about like the policies and law, is because it's something I work in it day in, day out. Okay? So now on to us. You can see, so right now, of course, I'm in a different role entirely, but all the skills I have are not lost. I was able to transfer my skills from one career to the other without gaps in my career. And all those skills are relevant for my progression. So much so that even right now, when I'm looking at roles, I am not looking at generic roles. I'm constantly looking for like specific roles where there's gap. I'm able to create gaps. I'm able to identify gaps or create gaps. For instance, prior to the new role where I am, the role I was before, I actually created that role because I saw the gap there. I was able to identify the gap. I was able to justify why we needed to have roles in that gap and the need to meet that needs. So for us, I'm going to do this in part because I don't want it to be such a long show. So come to think about it, I'm just thinking, for those of us that have children, a lot of our young children, we are working around the clock. Some of our children at 13, what am I even saying? Depending on the age, it depends on the country where you are. At 12, you're 10, your kids can enroll into like girls guide, boy scouts. Okay, when they are like 13, 14, 15, they can go on volunteer roles. Okay, when they are 16, you can let your children start going for like volunteers abroad. There are a lot of organization. All you need to do is sign up for it. Okay, as a parent, you can sign up. They have volunteer roles even within the UK. I don't know of other countries. Okay, I know of what they call Camp America. Camp America is a very good one. Okay, and I can confidently refer people to there. Is a very good one. Say for instance, like your children, maybe you have kids who are very good in sports. Camp America is very good because it's actually over the summer. You can enroll your children. You know they have to go through the testing and all. This process around it. Look at Camp America. That's a good place to start if you have teenagers. Because what you're doing is in Camp America, a child is able to develop a team working skill. They are able to develop a leadership skill, and they're also able to develop resilience and problem solving skills. Okay, so these are things. Camp America is your go-to if you have teenagers. And just go on Google, type Camp America, look at the criteria, because it's a very rigorous. I know it's quite rigorous. I know it's very rigorous to get in, but once you are in, you are good. Once your child is in, it's good. It's a volunteer role. Your child can learn. You see those 4 skills: leadership, teamwork, resilience, and problem solving skills. All employers will do anything to have it. If you have it as an employee, trust me, you are cooking with gas. And you get reference. You actually get reference from that. Now, there's also for those of you, maybe you are scared to like let your kids, do Camp America. People have their reasons why they don't want things. All this, some of us, we are Nigerians or Zimbabwe or Ugandan, wherever. We are going on holiday. We have family members who have businesses. Okay, your kids during school holiday, you can send your kids, to that your friend or to that your brother. Depends. It obviously has to be someone you trust. You can send your kids to those people that own business, or they are, like they own businesses, and your children can start learning, because that way they begin to build their CV from there. They begin to build their work CV. And during, like, even before they go, like, while your children are in school, while they are at school, and start engaging with their career development. I know in Scotland we call them skills development in Scotland, or the career advisors in your secondary schools. In your children's secondary school, start engaging. Like the banks, the likes of NatWest, the likes of HSBC, the likes of JP Morgan, different companies, engineering company, accounting company, law firms, all what they have modern apprenticeship services, programs. They have apprenticeship, they have modern apprenticeship programs where your children, some of these, even like all these engineering, accounting, local authorities, civil servant, the civil service, to an extent, not all the roles that they have that for. I would say local authority is better off than the civil service when it comes to like apprenticeship, particularly for younger people. But having said that, it doesn't mean you can't allow your children to apply for if there is a civil service, okay? But what you do is, because they come to schools to come and pitch these things, and the question for us as parents is, how many of us attend all these parents evenings? Apart from just going there to go and moan about torí pé a jẹ́ dúdú ni, torí pé a ṣe kinní kan, how many of us actually engage in the real conversations? The Prince Trust, our children part of that? Do they get to do it? Or is it just a case of they just go, they come back and they tick boxes? You need to start getting involved in what happens in your children's schools. The Prince Trust is a very good thing to do. And a lot of times, you don't have a lot of our black kids who are there, who are doing it. The Prince Trust is about resilience and teamwork. And these are things that are crucial to your child's to CVs. So start looking at, you as a parent, start engaging. Don't just go to those parents' evening for the fun of going. Start asking questions. When your kids, like in Scotland, when your kids are in S4, which is year 4, I don't know what, the English system is quite different. So think about it. So year 4, so we have year 4. Year 4 is where you do your first work experience. Then year 5 is where you do your NATs, your national grade, and then you do your IAS, and then year 6 you do your advanced IAS. I know in England your school system is quite different. And in America and Canada, your systems are quite, so look at what that means in your system. Okay, so like year 4 that your child is 14 in year 4, usually 14, 15. Okay, so what you want to start doing is start engaging with the career teacher. I don't hear you. I feel suru, adura gbe mi na, I feel suru. So start engaging with your children's school. Get to know the skills that they are good in, that they're good at, and then begin to engage. Because all those employers, like those career the career department at your children's school, they have this information. And if you don't note your interest, a lot of times, children who don't know their interest, the assumption is that parents don't want them to do it. Oh, okay. Oh, thanks, Theo, for saying that. Yeah, I was not going to come to that because we also have something like that too in accounting, in law, engineering, like different. So, as a parent, note that interest. Start speaking to the career advisors at your children's school. Okay? Start speaking. Microsoft does it. Google does it. Start speaking to the career advisors, IBM, the likes of IBM. Start speaking to them. When you start speaking to them, what then happens is, and I won't lie to you, those apprenticeship positions are highly competitive. So if you know, because it's not just about your children going to university. Like I said to you, that's why I have to give my personal experience. Okay, your children having they went to university, they have first class. Having first class is not enough. Having 2-2 or 2-1 is not enough. Do they have the skills to go in to get these graduate jobs? When they don't have that skill, employers will not just look for someone with just academic qualification. They also want skills. And that's why you always hear you don't have work experience. Okay, of course, there's always justification to challenge employers. But let's be honest. I remember working in KPMG, where I came with degree. Most of the people that were in Glasgow, that were working together in Glasgow, a lot of them, modern apprenticeship, nothing wole. The Barbara, even the ACCA, and I discovered that I had a manager that was in ACCA, Professor University. But it's been there for years. Okay, so these are your realities. So it's not just about accumulating qualification, it's about having those skills to match the qualification. So, for instance, like I said, speak to the career teacher or career development, whatever they are called wherever you are based. Speak to them, let them know. Speak to your child. What does your child love to do? How can they help marry that? There are employers who are willing to employ the students, to employ that young person, so long as that young person meets the criteria, meets the qualification of what they're looking for, meet the criteria, okay? Meet the requirements, rather. So you apply for it, your child applies for it, and what then happens is your child gets a job, so your child is employed, and at the same time goes to university. Some, it could be that the child works 4 days a week and then goes to university 1 day a week, and the child is being paid. It's a paid employment. Okay, there's that angle. There are some employers that will say, you know what, we can't do that. However, during your school holiday, you can come and do intern with us. And that, honestly, those things are good on your CV, because you are using one stone to pile two beds. Okay, you are using one stone, you are learning, at the same time you're working, you are gaining skills. So think about it this way. Like in Scotland, our university is 4 years and 5 years, right? So imagine you are working for 4 years while you're going to university, while you're going to school. You are working in a company, or you are maybe an engineering student. You are working in an engineering firm, and at the same time you are being paid. You are going to uni. How good is that? So you're already on, by the time you graduate from your university, easy peasy, you already have 4 years work experience, or 5 years, whatever your course that you're doing. You already have 5 years work experience. And then you can even finish, some of those companies, they will tell you when you finish, you have to work with them for 2 years. What's 2 years? In 2 years, pay. Some, you even finish and you decide, oh, you want to do your master's. They will even put you through, because it's in their best interest. They pull you through. And don't forget, while you're working in that company, you might even be doing, okay, you are going to university. There are also courses, they're like professional courses that they would also put you through to learn. They will put you through to do those exams. So you then find out that you are actually at an upper hand. You have an upper hand than your fellow than your friends who are probably just in the university doing the theory, while you are doing theory and practical at the same time. And a lot of our people don't explore this. NatWest, they have roles. They have all these things. You just need to be your smartphone. Stop using your smartphone to be looking for what is latest gossip. Start using your smartphone to start seeking information. For those of our children, or for people, for those, even those who came here, all these Japanians, that you want to come and do PLAB exams, you and I know that your PLAB exam is the least of your worries. When you finish your PLAB exams, do you have the practical experience? Because they won't just take you because you finish PLAB exams. You and I know that. So you need to have housemanship experience. How do you get that? You can volunteer. You can go volunteer. Start looking at volunteering opportunities. They have different volunteering opportunities. Don't just let don't let organizations be using it to tick box. Volunteer. Okay? If policy is your thing, look at organizations that are into policies. Look at charity organizations that are into policies and start engaging with them. That enhances your CV, because they will give you reference. And that opens you up. Sometimes even this charity organization, when there's employment, when there's vacancy, you can be employed. But our people, we like to wear suits. We want to be board of directors. You don't even know what they happen. You want to do board of director. You don't know what they happen. You won't do I'm the share. I'm walking around with the share. You'll be following them around. While they are ticking their own boxes, you are not learning anything. So swap it around and start enhancing your skills. Okay? Swap it around. Start enhancing your skills. You are here to come and do your masters. The question is, okay, fine. You say you are working. You are doing your care job or your whatever job you are doing. It doesn't matter the job you're doing. But don't just walk around the clock. Create time, even if it's once a week. The likes of Barnardos, you can go and volunteer for Barnardos. There are different roles that you can do. There are different volunteer experience there. British Heart Foundation, Health in Mind, name it. There are so many places you can volunteer. Women's Aid, what's their name? There are so many places you can volunteer. Even IBM, you can go to them. They will always have roles. Go and start exploring volunteer experiences. Because this is the reason why a lot of people, they will come and do masters. When they graduate, they don't go see graduate job. Because they only have academics. They don't have the skills. They don't have the practical skills to then get the kind of job. And you come and be hearing these people, they don't like black people. One man like that, he frustrates Iwani. One man like that, he foju wari. Toripa get dudu. That's why they don't. Alateshi. They don't send you. They don't send you. If you have the right skills, when you're applying for a job, you always see it there. They will say desirable skills, essential skills. They always put it there. How beautiful is it if you have both desirable and essential skills? How beautiful will it look like? You need to have both skills. And this is how, let's even go to those who are doing PhD. You do PhD. All you are doing, you are just so focused on your research papers. No, you can't just be focused on that. Some of you will say, okay, I'm doing PhD. Okay, they will make you as PhD student. In most universities, automatically you can help with a tutor, with tutorial classes. But what if that's not just all you want to do? What if you have other things you want to enjoy? You want to be able to do to build your skills? Because the question is, it's not just about going to study. What do you want to achieve at the end goal of that study? Where is your gap? Even your dissertation, you can create a gap for yourself. Use it through your dissertation. Some of us, when we are writing dissertation, we are repeating the exact same topic because we just want to write it and pass. We are not looking at the creativity around it. You can actually, through your dissertation, you can actually identify a gap. That's the whole idea of writing a dissertation. Identify a gap. I remember writing a dissertation on womb rental, surrogacy. And that was how I secured my first sexual reproductive health job. I actually wrote about surrogacy. I talked about it from, I looked at the power relations in it. I looked at the power relation. I went to India, I got grants and, I was able to do it because for me, it wasn't just about writing a dissertation. I wanted to write a dissertation that put me out there. Those of us who are in school, go and ask yourselves, what's the topic of your dissertation? We are repeating information that has already existed. Because the end goal is not about the study. It's about, I want to pass. But why don't you look at dissertation, look at a gap. Why don't you look at a gap? Oh, there's a gap in this particular. If I write about it, because dissertation is meant to be a knowledge, it's meant to be a new knowledge. I wrote extensively about domestic abuse, the impact of what's the name? I've written extensively about domestic abuse and the heavy-handedness of migration, how immigration policy drives domestic abuse among African families. I've written few papers on that. I've written about child protection, the impact of immigration law on child protection and acculturalization. I've written extensively. It's not because somebody told me, I've done joint rights and stuff like that, but the thing is this, I saw gaps and I'm able to present because it's my bread and butter. So as a student, why don't you take a step back? Your dissertation, what are you writing about? Your assignment, you can even use your assignment to start driving your area of interest. Like anybody that knows me, they know I'm so into, social stratification. That's something I enjoy talking about. I love to talk about inequality, explore why inequality is there. You can start using your school assignment. You can start using your assignment to drive that. You can start, I remember when I was training, Everybody knew I was going to end up in children and family. It was a common knowledge. Because my assignment was pointing at that. My presentation, everything I did highlighted that children and family was my area of interest. Until date, it's still not gone. So you can start using, as a student, start looking at that gap. I know someone that wrote extensively about the refugee, the lived experience of refugee. That was what they wrote. That was what that person did as the citation for a master's. And today, that dissertation actually landed her a job. So don't just be those students, be the students. You can, even you as an international student, you can actually write about your lived experience, because these are things that can help drive policies. These are things that can help, that can help explore reviews. And then because you're identifying a gap, that puts you on the edge, and you can actually refer to that in your CV. But a lot of students, it is all about, I shall come and study. Mo ṣáà ti wá, ní bá ṣáà ti ṣe tán, kí n wá bí mo ṣe máa tètè tẹ̀dó sí bíbí, nǹkan tá à ń wá káàkiri nìyẹn. So you're not actually coming to study from the angle of passion. And that's the problem. A lot of people are not coming to study. If you go and look at the PhD that people are doing, most people who are doing PhD, they are career students. That's what they're doing. There's a difference between kí o ṣe nǹkan láti fi tẹ̀dó and doing it to enhance. You can, even if that's your end goal, you can still enhance your chances. Okay? So start thinking out of the box. You're a doctor. As a doctor, what can you do differently? Those scrubs that you wear, there's your colleagues, there's some of your colleagues who are designing that. Those surgical instruments that you use, some of your colleagues are informing that. The scrub you wear, the hospital reviews, the equipment that are used in the hospital, it's fellow doctors who are informing that. So it's high time we start thinking outside the box. You can actually make a difference. You can carve your niche. And I'm telling you that because I did the same. I did that. So I'm not telling you what I don't know. I'm telling you what I lived through. You carve your niche. Because nobody gets two heads. I'm telling you that for free. Nobody has two heads. All those, I work in tech, I'm a shakinikon. Okay, fine. You work in tech. Is tech working in you? Is a question. Now, the new craze where everybody they do now, I want to do cyber security. Why do you want to do the money they did? Remember that so everybody do oil and gas that time. I'm doing oil and gas. When oil and gas crash, come and see our people, come and see how they were made redundant. Because they were so focused. Look at when they are saying there's business analyst. I'm a business analyst. I'm a clinical analyst. I'm a project clinical. Okay, fine, we here. Now AI is take over. And it's taking over. Do you have transferable skills? Exactly. Adura Gbemi. Exactly. There are people informing that. But you have our people, kila and she, nurse ni mi o. Mo ṣe night, mo ṣe shift, mo ṣe morning, mo ṣe afternoon. Okay, fine. Nobody is saying don't do what you're doing. But you can do beyond just being at the front line. You can do way beyond that. Don't and that's why when I started, I said, don't just do your career based on Owowambe, because that's the problem. A lot of us, when you ask us, an average African, why are you into this thing? You will hear, now this career they pay, now this career money day. I'm a practice educator. When I hear, I come across students, and our African students, when you hear them, money they this career. And the interesting thing, they get to the career very easily, they phase out because they get burnt out easily because they are not there for passion. When you are in a place because you are passionate about something, when you're in a career because you are passionate, you are able to explore. But if you are coming there because money they there, and look, is that not what is causing the problem? Money they there, you're not even able to explore that career better. The surgical knives, the surgical instrument that they are using, people are informing it. Your fellow medical professionals are informing it. There's an angle of specialized professional information there. Even the scrubs that you wear, the colors of the scrub, there are people informing that. The hospital equipment that is there, day in, day out, there are people who are informing it. NHS does not just operate from the blues. It's not just about administrative staffs alone. I've worked in I know NHS to an extent. You would have been away from there for a while. But I can tell you, working in procurement, I can tell you for free that when I was in procurement, most of the people that were informing our decisions, it was not us who were administrative staffs. It was health professionals. We had surgeons. We had nurses who were informing these things. The bedpans, the syringe, the different things you're using, your scrubs, the colors of your scrub, the textures of the scrubs. There are people who are informing that. Even how testing, I remember when I came in 2003 then, the way they do pap test is totally different from how they're doing it now. That has been a driver. A lot of people, that has been driven by so many information. Even the way they do smear tests is changed. As a pregnant woman, the way they do all those testing, all those scans and stuff, a lot of things has changed and keeps changing because there are health professionals behind the scene who are informing that. And do you want to hear the truth? Can you do to porn? That's even if you see to do there. Because we are so focused on the front line. We don't drive curiosity behind the scene. Because the focus is, Owowambe. And you will see our people. I remember the days of oil and gas. Everybody that I knew, they were coming to come and study oil and gas. I remember the days when they were doing ACCA. When everybody was doing ACCA, me, I was doing CIMA. I had people who were telling me, kilo ngwani the CIMA. ACCA is the in thing. And really, when I remember when I was doing CIMA then, we used to be Glasgow. I remember Karawa. Because everybody was so focused. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry you see, ACCA. Ìgbà kan, kí náà ń porúkọ ẹ̀? Ṣé Cisco náà ń pè? Ìgbà kan Cisco everybody ń ṣe. And once they say, this is, what I've noticed? I mean, well, that's my observation anyway. What I've also noticed is, when you see people run into a career, now the career with the ring, maybe that. We don't necessarily explore. It's all about, and that's why when I remember when RBS made their staffs redundant, a lot of Africans were redundant because they didn't have transferable skills. Everybody, we won't wear tie, go work. We won't wear tie, we won't wear suits. We want pepin, go work. And that's what I always notice at jobs, in careers. The slowest swimmer is the one that becomes a victim. I remember during COVID, people that did not have transferable skills, I remember when they were sending out email. I want any transferable skills. Come and see the way they karamo us. Come and see karamoing. I want to need transferable skills. I remember a whole department. A whole department was wiped out. And the way they take right hand, people in those days, they will tell you civil service, they know they white people, not lie you. Iro from the Iro will be say, get part 2. Ni. If you don't have transferable skills, trust me, you are the most vulnerable in the room. To ban transferable skills, I see the kind of way they write during the days of COVID. When we the yari, come and see Karamoy. Come and see the way they Karamoy us. They will come. Thank you for the hard work. Thank you for the shaking nikan. Those who don't get transferable skills, they just told them. In short, first and foremost, on lolino. And the way they put them for us, they just put them. The next thing they sent out email to them. This is we are changing your contract. He's shaking nikan. And there's no mercy to how they even take do them. Mercy no. Mercy no even day. They don't even do it with mercy. That was the bad side of it. Yes, so Theo, you are right, Jari. Mercy not even day because kinikon you have to kinikon to agree, and if you don't agree, you can go and speak to your union. Odin the department won't wipe out Odin the department in, and that's civil service. So Odin won't wipe it out in the streets, and that was it. There was no sorry, there was no thank you, and that's say civil service they know they quick the wipe person out. Ologbeni won't wipe one out. You think to tell you jadi. Even then they say they won't carry them. They won't carry civils. They won't carry them to employment tribunal. Story for the gods. Story for the god. They want to carry them to employment tribunal. That's a she. As you tell them, go on lolola nikon loku. Share employment tribunal to pay. They get reason. When they wipe them, come out. They get reason why they take wipe them. You get transferable skills. Abi you don't get transferable skills. So that's just a reality. Even if you are doing care, for those who are doing care, if you are doing care, ask yourself. There are so many career paths in that care job. There are so many career paths. There's occupational therapy. There is nursing. There is a psychologist. There is what do they call them? Physiotherapy. There are so many careers to it. Don't just get yourself stuck. Start exploring. And this is where people get themselves muddled up. The days of ACCA, now so everybody run, they do ACCA. The days of oil and gas, I remember that time Abadi, any Tom, Dick and Harry will come from Nigeria, oil and gas must they inside waiting the study. When everything burst, all of them, come and see them. Come and see a lot of them. They were made redundant. In short, I remember some people were there. Story for the gods. Story for the gods. When you don't have transferable skills, you are the most vulnerable swimmer in the pool. So this is time. And for our children, let's start encouraging our kids to start engaging in volunteering experiences. If you're in the UK, there's a lot of organizations that your children can volunteer in. Let them start volunteering. Start building their skills. It's not the one that they'll be walking around this. They'll be walking around normal face like I mean, university, okay, mom, I mean, uni. Start getting them. Start introducing them. Because by the time they are graduating, if they have skills, like during summer holiday, they can save up and go on. They can even go for voluntary internship. Because all employer needs is to see that you have skills that matches what you have studied at uni. There are a lot of people, university, they offer them jobs. A lot of those Asian kids, a lot of those Caucasian kids, you see them. One lórí méjì. It's not because they are different from you. Forget that. See, the skin color is the least of the worries. As an employer, and when you sit down, if you have ever been on the other side where you are doing interviews, you know what I'm saying. Employers will put it there, desirable skills. There's desirable skills, there is a essential skills. If your desirable skills overweigh your essential skills, you know where you stand. You know you have a better chance than someone who has essential skills but not desirable skills. And if you have both, you are cooking with gas. You know, as a parent, start engaging in your parent evening. Start engaging in it. It's not all about just going there to go and be speaking grammar. This school, they are shaking it. All you are there for, you want to go and moan. You want to go and complain. What about if you change your pattern? Anyway, we'll probably, let me stop at this. Does anybody want to call in? If you want to call in, please do call in. I just don't want to be the one speaking. My mouth they pay me now. If you want to call in and contribute, that would be nice. Or as a parent, you know, you don't have to share your personal experiences, but you know, because people, you know, we have to start in where we are playing. That's where we're also learning as well. You understand? And like I said, my role is to make sure that when I set up my blog is not just about just coming to come and, you know, yes, we laugh, we play, but it's not about laughing and playing. Let me see I do like women saying something. The ones that scare me is a new wave of migrants that have ChatGPT CV, but once they open their mouth in meetings, you want to hide under the table. We'll come and talk about that. You know, we'll come and talk about that. Employers know when your CVs are generated. They know. Remember, I don't know of Nigeria, but over here, there's a software that is used to scrutinize CVs. So employers can tell. And sometimes employers they deliberately invite you to interview just to come and hear the ready and that you have to say. Sometimes there are some people, they use ChatGPT to generate their CV, but they can bluff their way. Okay? That one is another story for another day. If nobody is calling in, I'll make this a part 1. I probably will visit it. Maybe I'll come back on Thursday. I have all the time in the world. I'll come back on Thursday and then we'll come and revisit. Okay? I don't want to make this a long video because I want people to be able to learn, constructively engage with it. But in where we are playing, okay? It's not just about talking about other people's story. Let's talk about ourselves. Let's look at how we can all grow together. Okay? And because there's something that there's lórí méjì. And Asians and Caucasians lórí méjì. You can't be putting a square peg in a round hole. We need to learn to do things differently. It can't be business as usual. Okay? I'm not saying there's nobody that doesn't like money. I've not met anybody that will say I don't like money. Because you like owó. But what is driving you in that career? If money is all that is driving you in a career, you are not going to enjoy it. Yeah, you will get the money, but you're not going to enjoy it. That's the truth. Because it just means you don't have satisfaction. They get them plenty, especially all those IT people. You come and be learning grammar. They create bogus CV for themselves. I can mean. All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Let us please kindly share the video and please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I dey pack my bag. I want to go and shop my tithe and offering. I can't wait. I can't wait to show you where I dey go, or where when I get there. I can't wait to show you. May you see as I go spend my tithe and offering. You know when they say somebody, I need 10 shilling, 10 of my shilling that can donate 1 billion. Don't worry. I will show you where you could donate your 1 billion. Give me. Even myself, I won't go open church now. Don't worry. I will show you where you can donate your 1 billion. Don't let anybody know. I will just show you. I will show you. Very, very easy. You will donate it and I will use it and shop life. When you hear shop life, I'll use and they do shop life gang. I'm gonna be away, but of course I'll be online. I'll be away, but maybe I'll do show if I can, but it's more of just I'm going away to go and chillax. If I'm going chillax, I need to chillax, jaye foreign. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining, and on Thursday we'll come back and visit this topic again, okay? And like I said, I would love it to be interactive. We'll come back and let me go and I get person we need my attention. Make I go here with he gas to say. I'll come and gist you guys later. I get one that the Jew where they find wife. Anyway, see you later and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Bye.